All right, today we're going to be talking about our different forms of a line. So there's a couple different forms that we'll talk about today. We have standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. This is when x and y are together on the left side. To write this in standard form, there can be no fractions or decimals. But what we're going to focus more on is slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So some important things to remember: if you were to graph a line, you first need to get it to y equals mx plus b form or slope-intercept form. Then you're going to start with b. So I think of this as begin. So you start with your b, then you're going to move, which is your m or your slope, and then finally connect the points. So first, let's just get started. This is similar to our linear equation or our literal equations. So we're going to look here. If we need to put it into y equals mx plus b, this is what we want. We need to get the y by itself. So the goal is to get the y by itself. Once we got the y by itself, then we're good. So what I did here was first we're going to move the 2x over here by subtracting 2x. This will cancel out and give you 0, and you're left with negative y equals negative 2x minus 1. Now remember, these are not like terms you cannot combine. Now, this is very important. Y needs to be a positive. If you notice right now, I have a negative y. So to move the negative over to that side, you have to divide each term by negative 1. Now, that's going to make that a positive y, which is what we want. And then your two negatives will make a positive 2x, and your two negatives will make a positive 1. So this is in slope-intercept form. And if you notice over here, we did the same thing. First, we want to move the x to the other side. So we did that by subtracting 3x. That's going to cancel and give you 0. So now you have 6y equals negative 3x plus 18. Now we got to move the 6 over here. So you have to divide each term by 6. That simplifies to positive 1. That's what we want. Y, and then I've got a negative 3 and a positive 6, which gives you negative 1/2. Don't forget your x. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3. So this is in slope-intercept form because the y is by itself. All right, I want you to try this one. And then we're going to work on graphing. All right, so when you're doing this, your graph is going to tell you what to do. You want to begin, I'm going to write this here, at your y-intercept. So your y-intercept is right here, negative 4. So we're going to go right here to negative 4, and that's where you're going to place a point. Then, after we begin, then we're going to move using our slope. So when we use our slope, oops, there it goes. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our slope and we're going to make a right triangle. So I'm going to go up 3, which is what I did here, up 3. So we go up 3 to the right 1, which this is a positive 1, so we went right. And then continue the pattern. I continue the pattern until I run out of space, and then you go ahead and you connect all your points. All right, now if you notice for this one, for number 3, it is not in y equals mx plus b, so you have to put it into y equals mx plus b. So same process as before. We need to move that 2x over by subtracting 2x. That cancels. I'm left with negative 4y equals negative 2x plus 8. Now we need to move this negative 4 over by dividing each term. That simplifies to positive 1, so that's what we want. Negative 2 over negative 4 gives you positive 1/2. And then positive 8 and negative 4 gives you negative 2. So we're going to begin here by plotting our point. And then from here, our slope is telling us you want to go up 1, and then you're going to go to the right 2. So up 1 to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. Should look like little stair steps. And I go until I can't graph anymore. But then you can also reverse it and go down and to the left. So you just continue the pattern the other way and then connect your point. So it should look like a bunch of right triangles, like a bunch of stairs. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to try these, and then we'll go over them. All right, what does a linear equation always look like on a graph? It's a straight line. So within linear, you see the word line. So it's a straight line. Slope describes the steepness of the straight line. A larger slope means a steeper slope. So we're not looking at the positive or negative. You're just looking at how fast it goes up. All right. So all we have to do here is just look, and I wrote all this out. It's pretty straightforward, just comparing the slopes. So right now we see that 3 is greater than 2. So since 3 is greater than 2, that's going to be steeper, or it's going to increase at a steeper rate. Now here you have fractions. Oops. Why did I write 4? I don't know. So I have 1/4 and 1/2. So in this case, your 1/2 is bigger, so that should be correct there. I think I wasn't paying attention when I wrote that. So 1/2 is a bigger fraction than 1/4, so that means you went up at a faster rate than 1/4. All right, now look at number 3. For number 3, if you notice it has a -6 here, we don't care about the negative. We're going to use the positive value, so you want to think of it almost like the absolute value. So we're going to do 6 and 5, so circle which one is greater. And then you'll go ahead and you're going to do the same thing for those two. All right, now here's what's important that we need to know. It says write an equation given slope and y-intercept. So remember, your slope is the m value, your y-intercept is the b value. So really, all we're doing is just plugging in those two. All right, so slope is 3, y-intercept is 5. So now just put it together. Y equals 3x plus 5. That's it. All right, slope is -2, and remember, slope is always multiplied by x. Y is your b, or excuse me, your y-intercept is your b value, which is the constant. All right, I want you to try these. I'm going to give you a hint. This one is a tricky one, so just be careful with that. All right, so now we want to know which equations are linear. So if they're linear, you can write them y equals mx plus b or ax plus by equals c. So the important part here is the exponents have to be 1 for your x and your y, and you can't have x in the denominator. So let's look here. Can you write it into y equals mx plus b? Yeah, it's already in y equals mx plus b right here. So we said, yes, it's linear. For number 2, you've got y equals 1/4 times 3 to the x power. Well, you can't have an exponent of x because your exponent has to equal 1. So this one is no. Now number 3, this is not linear because of that exponent. Number 4 is not linear because you can't have an x in the denominator. It's going to be a different looking graph that curves. So this one is not linear. For this one, yes, you can take this because there's really a 1 there. So this is really 1/3 x plus 0. So this is linear. Same thing for here. We can rewrite it and we can put a 1 there. So we know the same as 1x plus 0. So this is a yes. All right, I want you to go through and I want you to finish these, telling me is it linear or not. All right, now to determine if a table is linear, it has to have the same or constant slope. So again, see the word line and linear? So what we're going to do is we're going to do our y. So to get from 21 to 20, we're taking 1 down, or we're going down 1. And then our x is we're actually going, we increase by 2. So far our slope is negative 1/2. So in order for this to be linear, all the slopes for the whole table need to be negative 1/2. So I'm going to go negative 3 over positive 6. Well, that also simplifies to 1/2. So far so good. And then let's go here, negative 2. So we're decreasing by 2, and that is increasing by 4. So negative 2 over positive 4 is also negative 1/2. So since we all have the same slope, it is linear. So I want you to go through and I want you to determine if this is linear or nonlinear. And then lastly, this is going to be a warm-up that we'll kind of be talking about, but this is just some practice sketching. So when you're doing this, remember, you start at your b value, and this is telling you your negative 1/2 is that negative is telling you to go down. And then since it's a negative on top and a positive on the bottom, you got to go to the right 2. You could also go up 1 and to the left 2 because the negative's down there. But I usually go what direction it tells me to go first. So I go down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2. And remember, you can reverse it and go up 1 and to the left 2, up 1 to the left 2, up 1 to the left 2, and then connect your points. So we'll be talking about that, but if you want to give the rest a shot, you can go ahead and give those a shot, and then that is your forms of a line.